my neighbors suddenly discovered a large bag of chicken legs in my backpack and went crazy. "Hand over the chicken legs or you're dead." Without a word, I threw the chicken legs at them. Seeing this, what were once brothers started fighting over the chicken legs. But just as they were about to grab them, I gently pulled a string in my hand and the chicken legs returned to me. A single chicken leg for 20 billion, non-negotiable. It turned out that the temperature had risen by 100 degrees overnight, making fresh chicken legs the most important resource, one that could save an entire building. At that moment, Liu Xiaofeng, who was conducting a rescue operation at the engineering university station, noticed something odd. The scorching weather seemed to be cooling down. Could this mean the end of the high-temperature apocalypse? Before he could ponder further, a large group of people appeared in the nearby street. "Captain, there's a crowd approaching the rescue station." Hearing this, the female captain turned to look, but the sight made her eyes widen in shock. Those are not survivors. Those are clearly mutated monsters. There was no time for her to think further, as the horde of zombies had already charged towards the rescue station. Seeing this, the captain opened fire to suppress them while ordering her comrades to evacuate the civilians at the station. Meanwhile, at the Green City Hotel, after dealing with Lu Ruyan, I decided to set off and deal with what would be another immense disaster. Only I knew that what people were seeing was just the tip of the iceberg of the apocalyptic natural disaster, and I had to find that thing before the next catastrophe struck. I pulled out an SUV from another dimension and drove off. At this time in my past life, many people heading to rescue stations were turned into drought demons by the moonlight. Their obsession eventually led them to form the attacking zombie horde, causing the deaths of countless civilians and soldiers. This left abandoned military weapons open for the taking, eventually leading people to use them to form factions. Therefore, this time I not only had to face the mutated drought demons, but also had to be wary of humans armed with firearms. Before I could think further, a few spirited young men blocked the middle of the road. "Stop the car up front." I didn't hesitate, and I immediately floored the accelerator, plowing through the men. It's insane. They still dare to rob people at a time like this. Moments later, I stopped the car in front of a deep pit. Just like in my previous life, the intense sunlight from the moon caused the walls to crack, and combined with the attack of the zombie horde, it led to the collapse of the subway station. Now, the death toll in the subway station is at least in the thousands. Looking at the pairs of blood-red eyes in the pit, I sighed. Although there are many drought demons here, not all of them have a crystal core in their heads. It's too time-consuming to crack open each one's skull. I better go back to school first and find that thing. This is my first time returning to school since I graduated. Soon, I arrived at the school's laboratory building and stored the SUV back into another dimension. After doing all this, I pushed open the doors of the laboratory building and went inside, only to unexpectedly encounter two drought demons chained at the entrance. Suddenly, a man in slippers coldly declares, "Kid, if you enter our territory, you have to pay tribute. Hand over the stuff in your backpack." I slowly took out a chicken leg from my backpack. "Big brothers, please help me. Let me pass. I have fried chicken legs here." Their eyes gleam in desire at the sight of the chicken leg. "At a time like this, you actually have a chicken leg? Throw them here. Quick, throw the chicken leg." I didn't waste any more words and directly threw the chicken leg in front of them. The three, who were once brothers, immediately started fighting over the meat. After all, having been hungry for 2.5 days, who wouldn't want to taste the chicken leg? But just then, I gently pulled the string in my hand and the chicken leg returned to my hand. "Sorry, you guys don't deserve to eat this chicken leg." Infuriated, the three picked up their weapons and charged at me. "You brat, dare to play us? You're looking for death." However, the next second, I directly pulled out my gun. It only took 3 gunshots before I was making my way up the stairs. Strange, I don't remember there being so many idiots. I arrive at the laboratory of herpetology and I break the lock on the door. Smelling the rotten odor in the air, I concluded that no one had entered this lab recently to feed the experimental snakes, starving them to death. It didn't take long before I found what I was looking for, the 2-meter-long king brocade snake. "So, you little guys survived by eating the corpses of your fellows." In my past life, this king brocade snake was one of the first animals to begin reverting to its ancient form and eventually became one of the dominants of this region, nearly causing my demise. There's a flood disaster coming in a week when it will start mutating again, but it's uncertain to what extent it will revert this time. It could be troublesome if I can't overpower it then. But looking into the wise eyes of the king brocade snake, I couldn't help but feel puzzled. It feels like this guy has evolved some intelligence. I need to be even more cautious. However, before I could ponder further, a slight sound of footsteps came from the corridor. I saw 2 spirited young men with weapons quietly arriving at the door. I heard them shouting outside the door, the person inside, "Come out now, I saw you sneak in." Thinking that this was a critical moment for the king brocade snake to revert, I decided to go out and deal with these troublemakers. Just as I was about to make a move, a woman suddenly appeared in front of the 3 thugs. With agile movements, she charged at them, quickly subduing 2 with a chokehold. Then, with the swiftness of lightning, she jumped onto the last thug and twisted his neck into a pretzel in an instant. But before she could catch her breath, my gun was pressed against the back of her head. "Not bad. Who are you?" Turns out I didn't have the upper hand at all as she elbows my handgun away. To my astonishment, a pair pair of long legs attacked me. I heard a snap as my neck was instantly locked between her legs, but she was horrified to find that no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't break my neck. At that moment, I silently pulled out another gun from my pocket and forced her into submission. A few minutes later, I had the woman tied up. Now you can tell me who you are and what happened here at the school. The woman immediately explained her identity. I am Bite-san, the captain of the Azure Tiger Special Operations Force. I advise you to behave and let me go immediately. Hearing this, I asked, then you must know Lu Xiaofeng from the Azure Tiger team? Bite-san looked surprised. Who are you? How do you know Xiaofeng? I just smiled. I saved his life. Bite-san explained to me about how the zombie horde had attacked their rescue station and how she had Lu Xiaofeng evacuate the civilians to a safe place first, but unexpectedly, escaped prisoners from a jail had mixed into the crowd. Now these criminals have taken over the entire school, not only stealing their weapons, but also taking students hostage as leverage. After understanding the entire situation, I untied the ropes on Bite-san and then handed her a gun. I have my own matters to attend to now. Can't help you much, just a bit of firepower support. After saying this, I gestured with my hand. You can go now. Don't disturb me again. However, Bite-san said she intended to launch a stealth attack on the thugs' den. Only by reclaiming the materials they had plundered could the people trapped in the school survive. This made me immediately stop in my tracks, slowly pulling a sniper rifle from my backpack. I'll come with you. Meanwhile, at the school's administrative building, the leader of the thugs was questioning his underling. Have you found that woman? How is the situation at the dormitory building? The underling hurriedly replied, the brothers have gone to find that woman, and our guys are waiting outside the door. We'll definitely be able to take over the dormitory building this time. Hearing this, the leader sneered, good, let those disobedient ones charge in front. If someone has to die, let them die first. But no sooner had he finished speaking than the room's door was suddenly kicked open. Then I coldly said to everyone inside, sorry to interrupt your meeting. The underling immediately challenged, who is this fool who doesn't know how to live? There are more than 20 people guarding outside. How did you get in? How did I get in? Just like this. I raised my hand and mimed a shooting gesture. The next second, the underling's head suddenly exploded like a watermelon. Seeing this, everyone's face was filled with panic. What happened? How did his head explode just by being pointed at? At that point, I threatened the crowd, you'd better stay right where you are and don't move, or the next head to bloom will be yours. The leader was angry, but dared not speak. Meanwhile, from a nearby rooftop, Bite-san was scanning the room situation through a scope and reporting to me from an earpiece. Besides the one I sniped, there are still more than 20 thugs in the room. Your current situation is very dangerous. It's best not to act rashly. Remembering that I had suggested using myself as bait to draw the enemies out, Bite-san sighed helplessly. How could I agree to such an absurd plan? No matter how skilled Hayes, it's impossible for him to handle so many people alone. However, before she could think further, she noticed that someone suddenly pulled down the curtains in the room. Bite-san immediately asked me, why did the curtains suddenly close? What's happening over there now? But the next second, the voice of a thug came through the earpiece. Kid, don't think that just because you've set up a sniper outside you can do whatever you want. Now let's see if I can kill you. Bite-san immediately grabbed her sniper rifle and ran towards the administrative building. As expected, they found out. Try to stall for time. I'm coming to rescue you now. She had only ran halfway before another voice came through the earpiece again. Kill this damn kid. Hearing this, Bite-san quickened her steps and, a few seconds later, she burst through the office door. I've come to avenge you. However, she was met with me holding the thug leader by the neck and saying, you're too late. The supplies here are already gone. You can't kill me, or the people behind me won't let you go. I ignored his words and snapped his neck. Soon, those people will join you. Seeing that I had dealt with a whole room of thugs, Bite-san was incredulous. After all, as the captain of a special operations force, she couldn't have resolved a room full of people that quickly. Seeing her shocked expression, I explained that I had always been training and that the supplies here had already been consumed by them. They probably didn't have the energy left due to hunger. Of course, I wouldn't tell her that I had already taken all the supplies. Naturally, if necessary, I could share some with them, but it would depend on their performance. We're going to the girls' dormitory now. I just communicated with them, and Lu Xiaofeng and the other students are gathered there. Once we had gone, a body that had been hanging from the ceiling suddenly started to sway. The next second, it slowly opened its eyes. Soon, a man wearing a mask followed by a group of underlings arrived at the administrative building. He muttered, that guy has gone out causing trouble again. I wonder if he's dead this time. However, he quickly noticed that the woman hanging in the office was still alive, and he immediately ordered his men to rescue her. Then he said to the woman, you've been hanging here pretending to be a criminal for 2 days. Have you found the feeling you were looking for? Having a close call with death. Steel Fang, I need your comfort. Hearing this, the masked man pulled out a thorny whip. All right, Sister Na, prepare for the glorious evolution. He began to fiercely whip her back. After 2 minutes of whipping, Sister Na showed a face of enjoyment. This time it feels right. I'm not far from evolving. Subsequently, the masked man asked Sister Na, so, who stole my supplies? Tell me his name. I want to make him pay. Sister Na's expression became serious. That man is a devil. His name is Su Chen. Meanwhile, at the girls' dormitory building of the engineering University. Lu Xiaofeng looked at me and Baitsang with some surprise. It's great that you could come back, Baitsang. How come you're with Su Chen? I pointed to his wound and asked, Xiaofeng, your injury seems quite severe. Let me take a look at it. After seeing the wound, I immediately recognized it as a scratch from a type of monster called the cannibal clan. Their claws contain viruses and bacteria, and it can be life-threatening if not treated promptly with medication. Lu Xiaofeng was just silent, as medicines are extremely scarce resources now and almost impossible to find. I handed him a pile of medicines. Xiaofeng, take these. They should be enough. Both Lu Xiaofeng and Baitsang were shocked. Su Chen, where did you get all these medicines? I just smiled lightly. Like I said before, I am Xiaofeng's lifesaver. I remember from my previous life, there was a guy in the official organization, a force comparable to a human-shaped nuclear bomb, known as the God of War. If that person is Lu Xiaofeng, then this investment of mine won't be in vain. At that moment, Lu Xiaofeng slowly said, Su Chen, I owe you another favor, but I know you didn't come specifically to bring me medicine. What else is on your mind? I immediately became serious and said, a great flood is coming soon, and you all need to evacuate. The extreme heat has already caused the glaciers to melt rapidly, which will soon lead to a surge of seawater, and the entire school will be submerged. However, my words were opposed by a girl nearby. Su Chen, what nonsense are you talking about? Where is this flood coming from? I think you just want to deceive us and then monopolize the resources in the school. The speaker was my classmate Fang Qing, a well-known feminist at the engineering university and a rich second generation who likes to create gender conflicts. She then looked at the backpack in my arms. Su Chen, your bag is so full. Does it have a lot of food inside? Without waiting for my reply, she reached out to grab the backpack. The next second, I slapped her and sent her flying 2 meters. Watching the tooth I had knocked out, Fang Qing's face was filled with disbelief. After all, she was accustomed to being arrogant and overbearing at school and could not imagine that I would actually hit her. The male students around us began clapping. Well done. Just because her family has some dirty money, she causes trouble in school every day and even monopolizes a dorm room by herself. We have long been fed up with her. Fang Qing immediately burst into curses. You lowly men dare to treat me like this. I'm going to find my dad right now, and he'll make sure all of you are dead. She stormed out of the girls' dormitory without looking back, continuing to curse as she went. All the men in this country are lowly, especially that Su Chen. However, she hadn't gone far before she was captured by the masked man. Sweetie, quickly tell me where Su Chen is. On the other side, after leaving some supplies for Baitsang and the others, I left the girls' dormitory. After all, the most important thing right now is to wait for the king brocade snake to mutate and then harvest it, hoping to possibly gain hydrokinesis, the ability to control water. But I had only walked a short distance when I heard a faint cry for help. Su Chen, save me. I saw Fang Qing hanging in front of a truck, and behind her was the masked man from earlier. At that moment, the masked man looked at me and said coldly, I am Steel Fang from the Federal Bureau of Evolution. Are you Su Chen? I thought you were some kind of hero for stealing our supplies. My expression immediately turned cold. You're from the Federal Bureau of Evolution? Steel Fang patted the trunk of the truck. I've even prepared a special gift for our meeting. As his words fell, the trunk's metal door thunderously opened, and the next second, thousands of drought demons slowly walked out. Steel Fang looked at me with a sly smile. How do you like this gift? However, faced with thousands of drought demons, I stood my ground, completely unmoved. Inside the girls' dormitory building of the engineering university, Baitsang and Lu Xiaofeng were preparing to distribute supplies to the people when they suddenly heard a roar of drought demons outside. Baitsang immediately ordered Lu Xiaofeng to stay and protect the civilians while she went outside to investigate. Meanwhile, outside the dormitory building, Steel Fang looked at me and let out a cold laugh. Su Chen, this girl is your classmate, right? How about I give you a chance to play the hero and save the beauty? Just kneel and beg me, and I'll let her go. Fang Qing immediately got excited. That's great. Su Chen, hurry up and kneel. Save me quickly. But I just smiled. Saving you is not impossible, but I have a question. This made Fang Qing pause. What other question? Stop beating around the bush and just save me. Fang Qing became more agitated. Are you trying to back out, you lowly man? Is it my fault that I'm tied up here? Hurry up and kneel to save me. Are you even a man? I just gave a cold laugh. Of course I'm a man. It's just unfortunate that I'm not worthy to save you. Fang Qing immediately exploded with rage. Just because I called you a lowly man over this trivial matter, you want to take revenge like this? Do you think I'll grovel and apologize to you? This just proves you are thoroughly a lowly man. I don't need a lowly man like you to save me. But I just pointed underneath her. Is that so? Then I hope you can remember what you've just said. Fang Qing looked down, only to see dozens of zombies already surrounding her. The next second, she burst into a heart-wrenching scream for help. Su Chen, I was wrong. Please save me. However, before Fang Qing could finish her plea, the horde had already torn her apart. Steel Fang on the truck gave me a sly smile. You really are one to stand by and watch someone die. But no matter, you'll be joining her soon. He took out a box of black powder and smeared it on his face. Now let me show you the technology of our Federal Bureau of Evolution. Just smear this powder on yourself, and these monsters will obediently listen. I nearly laughed out loud. Smearing zombie feces on yourself? This indeed might make make them mistake you for one of their own. Steel Fang was startled. Damn it, this is actually shit. Then he furiously threw the powder away and spat out 3 times. Following that, he ordered the horde, attack, tear this brat to pieces. Seeing the horde about to pounce on me, I immediately spread my arms. In the next second, I pulled out 2 large swords from another dimension, then turned into a streak of light and instantly charged into the horde. Before Steel Fang had time to react, I was already in front of him. I never wanted to have any involvement with your Federal Bureau of Evolution, but you insisted on coming to kill me. As I spoke, I grabbed Steel Fang by his steel teeth. Now I have no choice but to ask you to die. Then, under Steel Fang's shocked gaze, I pulled his head right off. Seeing this, Bite-san almost wet herself. He finished the fight in an instant. This is definitely not something you can achieve just by training. What kind of monster is Su Chen? After dealing with Steel Fang, I remained calm. Dealing with these small fries still requires some restraint. It would be nice to have a capable assistant. Meanwhile, at the Green City Hotel, Duanya suddenly woke from her sleep. Hearing noises outside, she immediately realized that zombies were approaching her room. Remembering what I had said before, that only useful people deserve to stay by my side, Duanya resolutely picked up a handgun nearby. Su Chen, I will not be a burden to you. I want to be your right-hand man. Then, Duanya started checking the rooms one by one with her handgun. However, after wandering for 2 minutes, she saw no trace of zombies. Just then, a growl suddenly erupted behind her. As she turned around, she saw that a zombie had quietly approached her from behind. Seeing that her escape route was blocked by a table, Duanya quickly picked up her handgun to deal with the zombie. However, due to her nervousness, the handgun accidentally hit a nearby stool and instantly fell onto the table. As the zombie opened its gaping mouth to bite her, Duanya could only close her eyes and wait for death to come. But unexpectedly, the zombie bit down on the stool that made the noise. This confused Duanya. What's going on? Why didn't it bite me? Upon closer inspection, she realized that the zombie was blind. Seeing this, Duanya held her breath and shrunk her body to prevent making any noise. Then, she reached for the handgun nearby. If she could just get to the handgun, she could deal with the zombie in front of her. Just 2 centimeters from reaching the handgun, the table made a noise due to the zombie's impact. Hearing the noise, the zombie immediately bit towards the source of the sound. At the critical moment, Duanya quickly kicked the zombie in the head. However, the kick did not inflict much damage on the zombie. Seeing this, Duanya quickly pulled off her high heel to deliver more kicks, but the zombie grabbed her ankle, immobilizing her. In desperation, Duanya switched to her other foot and began furiously kicking the zombie's head. After 2 minutes of kicking, the zombie finally ceased breathing and collapsed heavily to the ground. Seeing this, Duanya sighed. Su Chen, it's a pity you didn't see this. I'm not some useless trash. Then, she picked up a fire axe from the ground and approached the zombie. Let's see if your brain has any crystal nuclei. Meanwhile, at the girls' dormitory of the Engineering University, Bite-san and Lu Xiaofeng, following my advice, began organizing the students to evacuate. Bite-san immediately contacted her brother, Bai Ming, to lead troops to ensure the students' safety. Watching Bite-san look around, Bai Ming laughed. Can't bear to leave that handsome young man Su Chen. Let's hurry and evacuate the students. When the next wave of zombies arrives, Su Chen staying here alone is certainly doomed. However, Bite-san directly contradicted her brother's opinion. Su Chen won't die. From the first moment I saw him, I could feel his strength. Those deep, mysterious, and unfathomable eyes made me feel like he's almost a monster. Meanwhile, in the herpetology laboratory, I looked at the king brocade snake in front of me and murmured, let's see to what extent you can mutate now. Then I brought a bucket of water and placed it in front of it. Water is a necessary condition for the king brocade snake to mutate. The moment the king brocade snake touched the water, its body underwent a drastic mutation. In just a few seconds, the king brocade snake evolved into a flood dragon, and the bucket began to deform under the strain of its massive body. The next second, the bucket exploded violently, and the mutated king brocade snake appeared before me. I couldn't help but be startled. I didn't expect that just the initial mutation could be so massive. Fortunately, I only provided a bucket of water. If it were during the flood disaster, its size would increase exponentially. But now, you need to consider whether you are willing to submit to me, and I might consider keeping you as a pet. But no sooner had I spoken than the king brocade snake quickly fled towards the window. Seeing this, I muttered to myself, this one's trying to escape. It seems this creature really has developed intelligence. The king brocade snake smashed through the laboratory window and escaped. I, holding a long sword, quickly followed. After all the effort to make you mutate ahead of time, I can't let you escape just like that. Then, I raised the long sword in my hand and struck at the tail of the king brocade snake. Unexpectedly, its scales were so hard that the sword broke upon contact. The king brocade snake seized the opportunity, opening its gaping mouth to bite at me. I quickly dodged and moved above it. Since the sword is useless, I'll just have to smash you to death with my fists. With that, I threw a fierce punch, instantly knocking the king brocade snake to the ground. But at that moment, the snake's body suddenly wrapped around me, binding me tightly in the blink of an eye. I couldn't help but admire the intelligence of the king brocade snake. Your attack was just a feint. Your real intent was to strangle me, wasn't it? The king brocade snake snake didn't give me any time for more words and opened its gaping mouth to bite at me again. But the next second, I firmly grasped its mouth. You are indeed smart, but against absolute power, all efforts are futile. It is said that snakes' nerves are highly developed and they can still bite even if their heads are cut off. But what if it's like this? As I spoke, I grabbed the king brocade snake and flipped it over. Then I stepped on its upper jaw and pulled its lower jaw with force, ripping its mouth in two. After dealing with the king brocade snake, I directly extracted a crystal nucleus from its head. I wonder what kind of change this crystal nucleus will bring me. Overnight, the world was submerged by floods, and everyone wished they could flee to the top of Mount Everest. It turns out that after the end of the 100-degree apocalyptic heat, what awaited humanity was not rebirth, but a flood disaster. If the extreme heat had worn down human will, then the global flood completely destroyed human civilization. But while everyone else was fleeing in panic, I deliberately dived into the deep sea. After absorbing the crystal core from the king brocade snake, I gained a new ability. My skin, upon contact with water, develops small scales that not only greatly enhance my defense, but also make my eyes extremely sensitive to light. What surprised me even more was that I no longer need to breathe through my nose or mouth in water. It felt as if my skin was breathing for me. Although it's not hydrokinesis, being able to breathe freely underwater is quite remarkable. Now, the flood is coming from the sea near the Green City Hotel, and its force is dangerous with debris in the water acting like hidden weapons, making it very difficult to swim upstream back to the hotel. Moreover, a volcanic eruption apocalypse is soon to come, and the massive amount of volcanic ash will be enough to obscure the sky, leading to the advent of an apocalyptic winter. In the face of these apocalypses, human civilization is merely a joke. If you don't want to end up like fish on a chopping board, you must continuously enhance your strength. After the flood disaster in my previous life, several powerful factions emerged in the commercial capital. The north of the city, with its low-lying terrain, became waters dominated by the king brocade snake and the female corpse king's army. The south was occupied by the cannibalistic tribes of the Devourer clan, where anyone passing by would lose layers of skin. The west was controlled by the Rat King and his billion-strong rat army, and the east was occupied by the skull crusher Gao Chang and Duanya. In my previous life, I nearly died several times at the hands of these four powers. Now that Gao Chang and the king brocade snake have already been dealt with by me, if I want to remain powerful, I must obtain the crystal core of the Rat King, the female corpse king, and the leader of the Devourer clan. However, the Devourer clan, with its numerous numbers and complex alliances, is difficult to deal with. The female corpse king is elusive and almost impossible to find. Thus, the Rat King has become my first target. There was a plague at the University of Technology in my last life, so the Rat King must be there. If I can find him early, I can obtain his crystal core with minimal effort. As I was pondering my next moves, countless water zombies had already surrounded me heavily. Meanwhile, atop a signal tower, a bald man watched the overwhelming flood in shock. How did a massive flood suddenly erupt overnight? But suddenly he seemed to notice something. Bro, look over there. It looks like someone is swimming towards us in the water. Hearing this, the skinny man looked towards the water. Isn't that Su-chen? That kid actually didn't drown in the flood. If the base hadn't sent us to keep an eye on this guy, we wouldn't have encountered this flood. If he dares to come over here, I'll kick him back into the water. At that moment, the bald man continued, it looks like there's a bunch of things following that guy. As they got closer, they realized that a large swarm of dark water zombies was following me. What shocked them even more was that although I was swimming upstream, my swimming speed was no slower than a world champion. Seeing this, the bald man hurriedly shouted a warning. Su-chen, we are from the Federal Bureau of Evolution. I warn you not to come closer. However, no sooner had his words fallen than I leapt from the water and, under the bald man's shocked gaze, kicked him toward the water surface. Seeing his own brother about to fall into the water, the skinny man quickly grabbed his wrist. I've got you. Quickly grab onto the pillar. But the bald man couldn't reach it at all, and the skinny man had to exert all his strength to keep his brother from falling. Seeing this, the bald man shouted, bro, just let go. I'm too heavy. If this goes on, we'll both die. At that moment, I slowly said, tell me everything you know about the Federal Bureau of Evolution. However, the skinny man gritted his teeth. Dream on. I will never talk. Even if you kill us, others will avenge us. But as soon as his words finished, the zombies in the water had already surrounded them, and one grabbed the bald man's ankle and dragged him into the water. Seeing this, the skinny man cried out in panic, don't be scared, brother. I'm coming to save you now. That, he plunged into the water with a splash. But as soon as he hit the water, a zombie lunged at him. At the critical moment, I intervened, slicing the zombie in two. Then, like a god of slaughter in the water, I instantly dove towards the horde. This scene left the brothers dumbfounded. Is this guy even human? He's too strong. After eliminating all the zombies and successfully rescuing the two men, the skinny man finally spoke slowly. You saved our lives. I'll tell you everything I know. Actually, we were sent by the Federal Bureau of Evolution to monitor you. The headquarters of the Federal Bureau of Evolution is inside the University of Technology, led by a group of researchers in a laboratory headed by Chief Liu. We're just the underlings. Hearing this, I was slightly stunned. The plague also also broke out at the Science and Technology University in my previous life. It seems to be closely connected to this Federal Bureau of Evolution. Then I asked the skinny man, is there research on rat mutations in the University of Technology labs? The skinny man shook his head. Only researchers are allowed into the lab. We really don't know about that. Hearing this, I didn't ask further. Now I have to go in and see for myself. I must act before the plague breaks out. Meanwhile, at the Green City Hotel, Duanya also fortuitously obtained a crystal core from a zombie's brain, but just as she absorbed the crystal core and found that she experienced no changes, unbeknownst to her, danger had already silently approached.